We officially now know the greatest Raphael to ever appear in sports in general. Obviously, that might be a bit of an overstatement until we get the amazing fight when one of the greatest tennis players of all time, if he isn't, I think he is. I don't really know a whole lot about tennis, but once he makes his way into the cage, we can really settle that one for sure because Rafael Fiziev makes yet again another amazing call out. We also saw some tough results for the TUF 29 group. We're going to talk who is the best prospect to come from that, and is that class suffering at this point? Obviously, they're not suffering as bad as TUF 30 is right now because, oh boy, that season sucks. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to UFC Talk 93. Of course, I'm your host, Ross Allen, joined alongside by the best in the business in my main man, Blake Campbell. And Blake, how are we feeling after? I mean, I know it's been a couple weeks since we've been able to get one of these together. So how have you been over the last couple weeks? Because there's been some pretty damn good cards.
Oh, gotta turn my microphone on first. Yeah, I've been
rusty. It's okay.
I know I'm a little rusty. It's been too long. I'm been good though. You know, the pay-per-view a couple weeks ago I thought was a little lackluster in certain moments, but
especially for the show of the summer. You feel me?
Yeah. So I mean,
thanks, Izzy.
And for obvious reasons, right? Like eye pokes and boring decisions. But this last weekend was pretty solid. I mean, I was entertained pretty much from start to finish. There was a couple, not the greatest fights, I guess we could say, in between, but I think there were some really good performances mixed in there that kind of made me enjoy the card a lot.
Oh, I agree, and definitely not the biggest name value card necessarily, but there's a lot of great prospects on here. A lot of prospects whose name I can't pronounce, so my enunciations are going to be horrible this show. Just pretend like I'm chill, son, and you guys find them funny, or at least I find them funny. So just picture me with, I already know my voice is kind of high pitched for a dude, so just picture me with hear me with a even higher pitch, and then there's Shell Thunder right there. But what we got for you guys today is, of course, breaking down UFC Vegas 58. We're going to be taking a look at what's a couple of card fights may have fallen off or been changed, but UFC Long Island is still super loaded for a fight night, at least. And maybe not super load, but it's looking really damn good. And then we're going to take a look at some new, I guess what we call a new chapter to the Nate Diaz controversy, especially if you got his interview on Tuesday on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. It was how do I want to say this? Like, it was quotable, to say the least. I think that's a damn fact. And we also got something new we're going to throw at you guys this week as well. So stay tuned. But we're going to get things started off with UFC Vegas 58, the most recent card. And Blake, we haven't asked this for a few weeks now, so did the bankers hit?
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3.
We'll refresh everyone's memories.
I appreciate the honesty with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So starting with the prelims, we had Cody Brundage versus Tresean Gore. And, me and you have been pretty high on Tresean Gore. We thought he had that.
At least we were.
Yeah, we thought he had that aggressive nature, that one-hit KO power, which, I still think is there. But it's just weird how he hasn't really been able to put it all together in his last couple performances, against Brian Battle for the official TUF championship. And then, obviously, his most recent fight against Cody Brundage, who, like I was telling you before we started recording, is now firmly on my radar. I'm pretty impressed with that guy.
Hey, Cody Brundage is coming up, man.
Yeah, so I'm excited for him.
Not just a wrestler anymore.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. To go to the next one.
So you're a striker now.
Yeah, he had to pull his Nate Diaz out there, Next one we had was Jamie Mullarkey versus Michael Johnson, and that was probably, I don't know if I didn't check the awards from the fight night this last weekend, but I would assume they would have gotten fight of the night.
Let's see if I can fact check that for you real quick on the UFC website. It did get fight of the night.
Okay,
good.
Yeah, because that was just an amazing fight. Michael Johnson
arguably round of the year that first round, bro.
Yeah, Michael Johnson dropped him first round. They both got dropped first round. Then Mullarkey starts kicking his butt in the second round. Could have been a 10-8 in the second round, honestly.
Did you think it was?
It could have been. It very well could have been. I think it kind of depends on how you personally score things, damage, all that kind of stuff, control. Because Malarkey
I think
put
we
a lot
could
of
hold
damage
that
on
in our
him.
mind, though. We'll definitely get to that in a second. Go a little bit deeper into that one.
And then obviously the third round was another great battle, and I thought Michael Johnson probably got the better of him in that round. So it was a really close fight, and I thought easily fight of the night, possibly one of the better fights of the year. I don't know if you could really say fight of the year just off of all the crazy fights we've seen so far.
We've had some good ones this year.
Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, an amazing fight, probably the highlight of the night for me. Just in terms of like the overall fight, obviously not the highlight. But
I'm probably going to get another contender for fight of the year this weekend as well. We'll get to that with our bangers for UFC Long Island as well as our premier banger for the week. I think you guys might be able to take a guess, but you'll just have to wait and see.
So that's the two that hit, right, for the bangers last week. The one that didn't hit, obviously, Ricky Turcios versus Ayman Zahabi, I believe is his name. And that was just a frustrating fight to watch, man. It was weird. Ricky wasn't connecting. He was doing some funny things at first, with the feints and the screaming and the... I don't even know what to really call those.
Ricky Turcios is all that was.
But it's like, damn, dude, you gotta freaking connect on some of those punches. It was just frustrating to watch him just, beating up the air all the time. So hopefully he can get back on track, because that's a guy that I was, really excited to see perform. He's got a great personality. He's entertaining in and out of the cage. So
Absolutely.
Hopefully he can put it together and get back on track. The guy that he fought didn't really do anything for me. Kind of just stood there and countered the whole time. And I just, I think if you're a champion, you could, ask Israel Adesanya, you can probably get away with that. But if you're a guy on the come up, you're unranked and no one really knows of you and you're fighting like that, like, I'm just not really interested. I'll probably never like bat my eyes at a fight of his ever until he proves like, he's actually going to do something in there.
It was, I like how you bring that up, because that's just going to roll us into our next point here. Taking a look at the fighters from or from TUF 29, and seeing how they've been faring in the UFC, because a lot of them not necessarily great. A guy like we mentioned earlier that we were super high on, even though he ended up not winning the TUF season for the middleweight division, he did have to pull out against that fight against Brian Battle. Brian Battle went on to win, and then when we thought it was going to be a great fight, when he and Brian Battle finally faced off in the UFC, it was, I'm not sure if it was a disappointing fight or a lackluster one, but I thought Tresean Gore was going to do a little bit more in that, but Brian Battle was able to handle him, and then this most recent fight as well looked kind of sloppy, and he caught a counter shot from that one, and he got knocked out, especially after all this talking. So he's in a weird spot right now. He's 0-2 in the UFC, and that clearly is not a great spot to be in. Now, Ricky Turcios, he has 2 official pro fights in the UFC. His first win, and now he's 1-1 with his defeat over Brady Heiston in the TUF finale, which was a solid performance, super fun fight in that one. But like you said, this fight at UFC Vegas 58 was just weird and lackluster, and I thought we were going to go a little bit more Ricky, and the Ricky that won TUF, but this fight did not feel like that. And Brian Battle is a bright spot right now. So he's obviously 1-0. Looking forward to his next fight, or I guess 2-0. 1-0 post TUF against Tresean Gore. Looking forward to his next fight when he takes on someone that isn't a tough guy, and like I guess fresh blood. And to be honest, I kind of hope he drops down to welterweight, because I think he could be a freaking killer in that division. But really, Blake,
Andre
your thoughts
Petrosky
are
too.
right.
Don't forget about him.
Yeah, so I was actually going to bring him up in a second, because he's a success right now. Andre Petrosky is, I don't know. I guess we'll just bring this up right now. So, do you think that Andre Petrosky, even though he lost in the semifinals, is he the best prospect to come from the season of TUF 29? Right now, he stands at 3-0 since his since he started in the UFC. He even has a grappling win over Phil Hawes in that time span. All three of them by finish. One by round 3 ground and pound, and then one by third round arm triangle, and then one by his most recent one, his most impressive one, with his domination round 1 submission, quick one against Nick Maximov, who's no slouch on the canvas as well. So are you almost worried about the batch that's come from TUF 29? Are we going to see success from them? And is Andre Petrosky the best one to come out so far?
Definitely not worried about the talent level. I think they're all still trying to find their way a little bit. I just think it's weird how Petrosky's had 3 fights in the same timeline. I mean, Gore, I guess, had an injury, so it makes a little bit more sense while they're kind of easing him back into it.
I think his first one was a short nose fight as well for Petrosky.
Okay. But it's just weird how Ricky's been out since August of 2021, and he was the winner of TUF. Unless it was his, like he wanted to take that time off. I just think that's kind of weird, keeping that guy that you basically spent, 10 weeks building up, and you sit him on the shelf for the better part of a year. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Petrosky's definitely been the most successful, minus not winning the whole thing. So, okay, let me start this over.
Post-TUF, yeah.
Brian Battle's been the most successful, right, in terms of championships, titles, whatever you want to say, won, just with the TUF championship. I think Petrosky might be the most impressive right now and is probably on the best. Because beating Maximov, that's a hot prospect. That's a guy that comes from a really good background.
That was a big one in my eyes.
He trains with the Diaz bros and the Nick Diaz army.
That's a guy that was sacrificed to Hamzat Chimaev by his own boy.
So I mean, that's a big time win, and I think Brian Battle also has a big time win, but it's looking not as big time now that Tresean Gore's lost another fight in a row, and it was by finish. So I'd say right now Petrosky's probably the most promising. Battle might have the most potential, just because he could, like you were saying earlier, he could drop down to welterweight. There's just a lot of these guys still kind of trying to find their footing. So I'm really interested to see where they go. I feel like they're all kind of on different trajectories right now. Brian's kind of like the slow builder. Ricky's kind of like flat, right? Kind of took that loss. But it wasn't like a bad loss. It was just a weird loss. So it's kind of like flat. Petrosky's kind of sloping up, and then Gore's kind of sloping down. So they're all kind of like a little different, and it's interesting. So I think we'll need like at least another couple of years to really tell how these guys have been faring. But so far, I think they're doing okay, just not fantastic.
That's fair, and I think it's safe to say that that these guys from TUF 29 are, if I had to bet, I definitely bet that they would be better than any prospect to come out of the season of TUF 30. Because have you
been watching the episodes?
I've been watching the fights. I haven't been watching the episodes because I just can't.
Yeah, missing much. It's pretty...
No, exactly. I just can't be bothered to watch the episode. I'll watch the fight just to see like what's up and to look at the fighters, but that's all.
Even the coaches' challenge was whack this year. They did axe throwing.
The axe throwing, yeah.
And Pena just sucked, dude. Like she started off good and then just sucked.
Dude, this season sucks. I really don't know what else to say. I was super happy when they brought it back with TUF 29. I thought TUF 29 was a fun season. It obviously wasn't the best season of TUF we've ever seen, but
they were like adults. They were professionals. They were good fights. I mean, every single week it seemed like it was a pretty damn good fight. Like there wasn't weird decisions.
It really started with the coaches, right? Because Volkanovski, good personality, hell of a fighter. Brian Ortega, good personality, hell of a fighter. Then you have Amanda Nunes, who is a hell of a fighter. Let's be honest. Let's be real. And Pena, apparently a hell of a fighter for being, current UFC women's bantamweight champion. But when it comes to personality, I think that the wall I am looking at in my bedroom right now, Blake, it is like just a very plain tan, and I think that has twice the amount of personality is Pena Everwill and the man Nunes combined for that fact. It's just not good, dude. So, but the fights, also the fights haven't been as good as last year. Like they haven't been bad, but last year's fights were like
there's been like
bangers.
Maybe 2 or 3 good fights this season, and it's mostly been girls. Like usually it's the girl fights that are the bangers this season. The only guy fight I really enjoyed so far was when I can't remember his name, but he was like the heavy set short guy, and he did that like it was like a wheel kick or something, or like a spinning back heel.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember his name though.
Yeah, I can't remember his freaking name, but he still ended up getting finished in that fight because he just gassed out and was just
in the third round, right?
Yeah,
was that one when it went to the extra one and he ended up losing?
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime it goes to a third in TUF, it's
sorry, got the extra, of course, but like he won the first one, and then it was a close second one, and then he got knocked down in the third.
And arguably could have won the second one. Like that was kind of controversial on that episode.
I think that was episode 4, like 3.
It was one of the earlier ones because it was obviously before semifinals. It was one of the later ones though because he got injured, so they kind of kept him on the shelf as long as they could.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I'm just kind of waiting for the season to be over.
It's not great prospect, especially for the guys.
I'm just waiting so we can get on to TUF 31, Khabib versus Tony, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath, bud.
I wouldn't either. I'd probably die within the first.
Look who they put as the coaches for this season. You think they're going to get it right next season?
No, Blake, I have zero confidence in them.
And even Ortega and Volkanovski, a lot of people weren't very excited for that. Remember, I think even me and you were talking like, man, I feel like they could have went a couple different ways here. But it's still, I feel like they could at least they delivered.
Pleasantly surprised by them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, I mean, one of the biggest parts about choosing the coaches is the fight they're going to have after the season, and that was one of the.
But you know what? I think I'm actually real excited for the rematch of Pena and Nunes. Yeah,
because you excited about what we're going to see inside the cage or just the stakes surrounding?
I'm very excited about what we're going to see in the cage because Nunes got finished. She was getting not only did she get choked out, she was getting rocked.
Yeah,
she was tired. She was getting rocked, and then she giving up her back. So I want to see how is she going to respond to that? Is she just going to kind of lay over, let Juliana take everything she worked for and made happen, or is she going to reclaim what was once hers and continue on her next reign? So I think that's both what's at stake and the fight itself. Because let's not act like that first fight sucked. I mean, that first fight was pretty sweet.
It was entertaining.
It was pretty sweet. Dude, they were
Blake,
rocking
I appreciate
each other.
that. You're out here getting me actually excited for this rematch. It really hasn't been a thing that I'm looking for. But
not looking forward to the press conference. Tell you that. I probably won't watch the press conference unless I need to see who they have on that card. I can't remember who else is backing them up, but
they should.
If they're featuring them, it's I'm good.
They certainly will not be the focus of that card. I think. I actually could be looking. We're saved, Blake. We're saved because Derek Lewis will be on that press conference for sure.
Who's he fighting?
He's fighting Sergey
Pavlovich. Wow.
I like him. I think Anthony Smith could be fun. Drew Dober could be interesting. Justin Taffa could be interesting.
And we got the freaking nicest guy in the world, Brandon Moreno.
Oh, and then especially one of the hottest prospects in the entire promotion, Ignacio Bahamontes, taking place on the early prelims.
Yeah. Damn, they got him on the early prelims. That's messed up.
It is kind of messed up.
They should have had him on the prelims at least. I mean, it's still pretty far out,
also above him, I think it's almost a little disrespectful putting Maria Agapova on the early prelims as well. I think she could be a prelim fighter.
Freaking Fajeda and Close. That's a good fight. Dober and Alves. I feel like that's pretty fair.
Justin Taffa could be. He's very hit or miss.
We got a little off track here.
Yes, we did. But what is new? Let's know your thoughts. Who do you think is kind of leading the way when it comes to TUF 29 prospects, contenders, actual stars in the making, or has it been a disappointing cast so far? But we're going to take a look at the main event for UFC Vegas 58 now, and we finally know who the greatest Rafael is, at least at the moment. This was a great comeback win for Fiziev with landing the late knockout there in the 5th round, and I had no problem with the stoppage. I guess if you want to call it early, sure, but let's not act like if it went on for 3 more seconds, RDA is catching a few more hammer fists and then officially getting his lights put out. So the fight was over. I have no problem with that.
Even RDA after the fight came out and said, his, respect and all that stuff. He wasn't.
Let's not talk about that stoppage when we saw the one between Chase Sherman and Jared Vandera.
Oh my god, dude! Did you? I remember one of my friends that's not really into UFC was literally counting the strikes when we were watching.
Oh no!
Like the unanswered strikes before the stoppage came, and he got up to like 20 something.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that didn't look good.
That was a great fight too, right?
That was a fun fight.
That was a good fight.
You were debating on putting that.
I was. Remember? So. I was like, dude,
Tercio screwed you. Apparently.
Yeah. I know. I need to stop looking through the rose-colored lenses.
He got cut, and now is that 2 straight wins for Chase Sherman after getting cut?
No, I thought he lost his last one, didn't he?
Or maybe he did lose.
He was on a 4-fight losing streak.
I think his last fight he got brought back on because he was
short notice,
and he was like a super big
super short notice
in that one, right?
Yeah.
Hey, whatever. He now got a cool knockout, and Jared Vandera's no slouch as well. So that's a good win for Chase. But back to the main event, at least. A couple things coming off of this fight. Have we seen the last of RDA when it comes to true title contention? Is Fiziev worthy of a top 5 opponent next? And would he be able to beat Rafael Nadal inside the cage? Big questions. Perfect call-up, by the way. I love that. Fiziev's call-out game is great.
Do you really think it's that great? I really don't care that much when he does these weird call-outs.
I think it's entertaining because he had a good mix this week because he threw in the comedy, threw in the entertainment with his post-fight interview inside the octagon with his call-out of the tennis guy, and then in his post-fight press conference, then he goes a little bit more real and calls out Justin Gaethje. I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I think
it's going to put him in headlines, so I don't think that's
he's got quite a few options, honestly. I wouldn't mind seeing him, depending on what Dariush's timeline is, and if he's fighting Islam or not, like what's going on with Charles Oliveira. Figure that out. The
really interesting why you say that is I think I think it was Charles Oliveira's dad on Tuesday. He revealed that apparently we're going to see a signed contract for Charles Oliveira's next fight for the vacant lightweight championship within this week.
Yep.
So we're going to get some answers made. It's probably going to be Islam. Let's be real. I would prefer Dariush versus Islam, though. But if I had to guess, it's going to be Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, so Fiziev, I'd say, has 3 really solid options. You could either go Dariush, Chandler, or Gaethje. I think either one of those guys is going to be a fantastic fight. And
where would you lean to? Do you like the Gaethje call-out?
I do, but I just don't think he's going to take that fight.
Gaethje?
Yeah. I don't really see it happening.
Well, who else would Gaethje fight then?
I mean, he just recently fought, so I think he still has a little bit of leeway. He could probably sit out a little bit if he wants to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're going to have to get some movement from these guys somewhere. Me, honestly, the fight that would intrigue me the most would probably be... I think I'd almost rather see like a Chandler Fiziev fight.
I was kind of feeling that, man. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I think it'd be fun. But yeah, I don't know.
Chandler wouldn't say no to that. At least probably not.
I don't think so. I mean, they're pretty close in the rankings. I think they're just 2 spots off. It wouldn't be his
top choice. Chandler's still there, number 5.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, I need to take a look through the ranking, years. Because for the first time that I've ever seen following the sport is that Tony Ferguson is not a top 10 ranked fighter. He's at 11. Who would have thought? Who would have thought we see the day, Blake?
But judging from what happened, was it this last weekend that the altercation happened between Chandler and Poirier, or was that the weekend before at 276?
That was at the pay-per-view, I think.
Was it? That would make more sense. Yeah, because this last weekend was Apex, so that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to show up for that.
So I'm thinking... maybe Poirier Chandler gets made, and then at that point it's like, yeah, Gaethje and Fiziev, or obviously Dariush and Fiziev has to get made. I'd almost say, like, rankings-wise, Dariush and Fiziev makes a little more sense.
Dariush at 6, Fiziev at 7.
Yeah. And it's a fight coming back for Dariush. He doesn't have to, go up the rankings the first fight back, prove himself, even though he's already done it a million times.
Stylistically, it could be a good one for Dariush as well if he's able to get it to the ground. Of course.
Could be.
Well, also, what we saw is Fiziev wasn't too much of a slouch in this fight against RDA when it got to the canvas a couple times.
No, I mean, he wasn't getting dominated on the ground. He took a couple nice shots from Rafael, or I guess I should say Dos Anjos, since they're both named Rafael.
Thank you.
And, the stand-up was pretty even for the most part up until the last round, obviously. I thought both of them were getting some pretty good shots in there. It didn't look like anyone was really getting the better of somebody. It seemed very even up until that fifth round. Like, I really thought we were going to a decision. And then out of nowhere, frickin' thunder and lightning
just took
strikes.
one, man. Just clipped him.
Yeah. Crazy.
When it comes, I really have to applaud, Sean Shelby and the gang for this matchmaking, because this was as close to the perfect matchup.
Well, did they even get credit? Because I'm pretty sure Fiziev called out Rafael, didn't he? Didn't he call out RDA? And he was the one that wanted.
I think so, but I think they were going to do this fight anyway, though. Well, he wanted to sell it.
They wanted to see who was the best Rafael.
There were talks about it, but also we all know that just because two fighters want each other, that they're not guaranteed to get that matchup.
I'll give UFC credit for making it happen, but not creating it.
That's fair. Yeah,
I'll give them credit for mailing the contracts to the fighters.
I think I'll roll with that. Yeah, great. They put the right postage stamps on there, right?
Yeah,
got the right addresses.
That's good stuff. They can't do that with Nate Diaz, obviously.
What do you think about, so we got that. Fiziev, you're feeling, so in a perfect world, do you prefer the Chandler fight? Is that what we're going with?
It depends. So the Chandler comes with an asterisk, because I really want Poirier and him to fight. I want Chandler and Poirier really bad, because that's got some heat behind it, some
especially now, it's great.
Hot sauce getting thrown in trash cans and some bickering at fight night or pay-per-views, I should say. So there's just some good, juicy stuff going on with that matchup. Personally, I think the two most entertaining fights would definitely be Chandler Fiziev, Gaethje Fiziev.
Those would really just be slugfest, man.
You could just go either way with that. I just think Chandler probably has. I think Chandler has a better chance of winning, honestly, because he's just the more all around. Yeah, we've seen everything from Chandler. We haven't really seen everything from Gaethje. He always says how much, or not. He doesn't really say it, but everyone says for him how crazy
everyone
his
but
wrestling
Gaethje
is.
Talks about his wrestling.
Yeah, but we never see it, so it's like I can't really like.
Well, the times we've needed to see it, it hasn't been there against against Michael Chandler points against Charles Oliveira. I think if you want to bring that up, I think that's a dead narrative. We should no longer be talking about Justin Gaethje's wrestling game. He doesn't use it. He doesn't attempt to use it, and it certainly isn't there against the top of the division.
Could have good defense, but it's not like he's doing anything offensive with it. And I think with Fiziev, you're going to have to be able to mix it up. I mean, the guy is just.
I'll even tweet that.
He's too much, man. That guy's powerful. Still knocking people out with basically one hit in the fifth round. Jeez. That's nuts. Like, 20 minutes into a fight and you can still knock a dude out. Like, that's crazy.
Exactly. I think
crazy.
That's a pretty damn scary thought. Damn. But also, before we get to what the blank Blake, when it comes to the whole Nate Diaz situation, we're going to be taking a look at a little bit more. One thing I want to ask you, last question I have for you for UFC Vegas 58. What current UFC fighter would be the best tennis player?
Best tennis player. UFC fighter.
This Nadal stuff got me thinking.
I mean, I think everyone's got to have pretty decent hand-eye coordination, but who would be...
Can I throw a name to the mix?
Who would you say?
Tennis, we're going to see, obviously, I don't really watch them much because it's a boring sport, but a little bit, we unfortunately, you and I were at the place we met was a racket club, and they had tennis on all the time there, and I hated it, but, we're subjugated to that torture. There's clearly a lot of lateral movements, so you got to be quick side to side, and it helps to be a little bit lanky as well.
Yep.
Stephen Thompson. Look at his karate stance. Look how he bounces back and forth.
Stephen Thompson.
I could see some good side to side lateral movement from him. Lanky guy, karate, good hand eye coordination. I think Stephen Thompson, man.
I'm trying to think of a good one. I feel like Uriah Faber probably be a sneaky one.
Oh, little quick guy.
Be a sneaky one.
Yeah.
Trying
Tough
to think
question,
of
I know.
you know who would be good, bro? Volkov.
You mean the man that could cover the entire court in one step?
Dude, but if you get him moving, you're probably gonna, probably be able to beat him. But if he's just standing at the net,
be a better tennis
dude.
player.
Imagine a doubles team with Volkov and Stefan Struve.
How you get the ball away from them?
That'd be nuts.
There is no gap inside the court.
I would just be hitting it at them. I'd be like, fuck, I'm just gonna try to hit you. Can't get it over you. I can't, get it around you. I'm just gonna try to hit it at you.
Get the racket back into their body area quick enough.
That's the only way you can do it, I think.
So I think what we need to see is Volkov doubles, Volkov and Struve versus a doubles of Volkanovski and Uriah Faber. Two real big guys against two small and quick guys. I think that's entertainment. Book it.
I think we should keep it Stephen Thompson though. I like Stephen Thompson. That was a fantastic answer.
Well, thank you. I just the karate stance got me thinking, man. Look at the way he bounces, and I gotta say, I tried to practice footwork, practice stances and stuff like that for my upcoming fight. For those that don't know, I'm doing an amateur fight for some reason because I'm a fucking moron and doing MMA now. But that'll happen probably later this year or early next year. Just depends on what card me and my opponent could get ourselves on. Shout out to Johnny of Uncaged Media and FCC MMA. Fantastic stuff. Shout out to FCC MMA, by the way. But, the point I was getting to, it's hard to bounce back and forth like that with that karate stance. It's a lot harder than it looks. It's real weird. But, also, so it's just more reason to respect the greatness as Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But before we get to What the Blank, before we get to Best Prospects, before we get to new Nate Diaz drama that we're going to talk about for the 20th week in a row, I want to throw a new segment at you guys. I want to throw something new because especially what came out of UFC 276, obviously I was able to just rant a lot on Twitter, and also interview coming out a little bit later this week, at least it should be, with the Jake Blanchard podcast. Great guy, local guy. Met him here at a local MMA event, actually. We talked a lot about UFC 276. We'll get my thoughts a little bit more in depth there. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Fourth Long Media so you can stay up to date when that drops. I'll be sharing that as well. But Blake, I know for sure you got some, I got some after every card, and Twitter has them as well. But you got a take that you really want to ride with, that you're really feeling deep in your soul, okay? Maybe not a hard one every single week, but I know there's something that emerges. So, what we're going to throw at you guys is our take of the week. It could be one coming from ourselves, or it could be one that we've seen coming from the MMA world that we either want to agree with or that we want to dispute. And Blake, my thoughts. I'll take the reins on this one so you can get your thought process going. Something new I'm throwing you. Don't want to just throw you immediately under the bus, even though I do that a lot of the time because apparently I hate you. But my thoughts when it comes. I hate the word robbery. I think it's the most overused word when it comes to the sport of MMA. But I'm taking this week, Blake, that the Michael Johnson fight was a legitimate robbery, and we actually have some beef that we could roll with this week. What do you think?
It's tough. That was a really.
I think it's 28-27, and it was really easy for me to score it that way.
20-27?
28-27.
Oh, I thought you said. I was like, Jesus Christ! That doesn't seem very close.
Was resuscitated mid-round and then killed again.
That's just like a weird total. Like, how do you get to 27 if you only got 20 points? But because personally, when I was talking out loud and I just watched the fight, like before the decision was even made, I was like, dude, I could really see this being a draw. I could really, really, really seeing it being a draw because I think It was so close in the first round. I really don't know who you can give it to. I thought Michael was closer. I thought Michael Johnson was closer to getting Malarkey out in the first round. The second round was a clear domination by Malarkey. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. Could easily have been a 10-8 in some judges' eyes. And then the third round, I thought, again, Michael Johnson might have sneaked a little bit of the better of him, of Malarkey in that round. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking it could have been, a 28-28 situation, or maybe a very, very, I don't know. I think if I was going to give a winner, it would probably have to be, I don't know. I think it'd have to be Johnson.
Yeah. Well,
just because of how he recovered and came back,
exactly. He legitimately looked good in this fight. I was disappointed that he lost this one.
It wasn't unanimous though, right? It was split, correct?
It was a split decision.
Yeah.
It was a split decision, and I don't think it was a great decision. I forget which judge gave the one gave two to Malarkey. One probably messed up, being Sal D'Amato, because he is a horrible human being. And
some of his cards haven't been too terrible lately. Though. He's been getting better.
I think you're right, Blake. I think I'm holding on to a preconceived notion that's been hammered into our brains over the last few years, especially. But his last couple of cards, he's almost been the voice of reason.
Yeah.
And that's scary when Sal D'Amato is the one with the right card.
Well, maybe he's learning from his past mistakes, and that's promising. Hopefully everyone can do that.
Keep my fingers crossed for him, because if Sal can do it, that means there's hope for anyone.
Except, I guess. I was going to say except for that one ref from Abu Dhabi, but...
Yeah, no, I think that's a completely different conversation there. But do you have a take this week from the card and from the MMA world that's really pressing at you? There's not always something that pierces the heart.
Not a ton. The biggest things that I was seeing this week were controversial stoppage on RDA, which I profusely deny.
Yeah.
I thought it was a decent
you
stoppage.
can use that one, obviously. If you can dispute that take. There was a lot of people kind of writing with that one. I think it was stupid. Obviously, you do too.
Yeah, RDA's eyes were he had a blank stare on his face after that after that first punch. And then did you see the follow-up hit that Fiziev landed on him when he hit the ground? Dude, he didn't need to take anything else, man. Guy's a legend.
Obviously, it wasn't as bad, but it was fairly close to. Remember Francis Ngannou's follow-up hammer fist against Stipe?
I was going to say it was almost like that Sean O'Malley versus who was that? Almeida? Thomas Almeida? Remember? When he thought he had to walk off and then just turns around and walks over to him and just freaking spikes his head in the ground.
Super necessary, apparently.
Yeah. Yes, it was closer to that, I would say.
Yeah.
It was
obviously I'm not going to fault Fiziev or Sean O'Malley in that case. You punch a dude until the ref stops you, but he was Fiziev. RDA was out. That fight was over.
I definitely think that follow-up punch was necessary. It sucked how hard it was for RDA. All that.
The fight wasn't over with the first knockdown, but with that follow-up shot,
over.
Call it.
That was good. Because after that, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, you're 100% right about that one. But another thing, so let's know your thoughts on that one. We're going to throw at you a take of the week, whether one we're going to defend with our lives or one that one of you schmucks in the MMA media world, especially when it comes to MMA Twitter. That is a hellhole of a landscape and is filled with so many delusional human beings. So we can always find some takes that we can dispute because they always produce some of the dumbest stuff you will ever hear in your entire life. But before we get to our breakdown of UFC Long Island, it's time to hop into What the Blank, the segment where we have Blake fill in the blanks with a bunch of statements as we say what the blank with Blake, but for those that don't know how this segment works, I got 3 statements for our boy Blake Campbell over here, and there's a blank at either the beginning, the middle, or the end, and it's up to him to fill it in with whatever he so chooses. And of course, sound off in the comments or hit us up over on socials as well if you want to drop your own opinion, which I know for a fact you certainly do have. But start us off this week, Blake. Especially, one thing that got me thinking, like I said at the beginning of the show, there was a lot of prospects that either built on their current kind of resume that they've had in the UFC so far, or ones that really started a new spotlight onto themselves with UFC Vegas 58. So, statement number 1, the prospect with the most heat behind them is blank.
That's a tough one.
There's a lot to choose from, isn't there?
I mean, the number one that's coming, maybe it's recency bias, but the number one coming to mind right now is Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Yep.
Just because, I mean, I don't even know if you can really call him a prospect anymore. He's probably more of a contender now. He's probably worked his way up to a contender after that Neil Magny win. Prospects, I mean, Nurmagomedov.
Not just win, a pretty damn dominating fight over Neil Magny.
Yeah, not Saeed Nurmagomedov. Is it Umar Nurmagomedov? That's his actual cousin.
The bantamweight.
Yeah, but they're both bantamweight, Saeed and the actual
that's
cousin.
right.
So it's kind of tough.
Yeah, I think it's the
Umar,
one that won. I think it's Umar because Saeed won this UFC Vegas 58. Umar won like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Yep. So I think
Umar's scary.
He's a pretty big prospect.
Brian Kelleher was that the fight?
I'm pretty sure that's who he beat up. No, I thought Kelleher got... Well, that might have been a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kelleher just got beat by, like, one of Sean O'Malley's, like, teammates recently.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Brian Kelleher, yeah, so 2 fights ago, earlier this year, he got choked out in the first round against Umar. Now, Mario Bautista choked him out in the first round as well. So, not a great year for Brian Kelleher.
Yeah, especially after the the run he was having like a year or two ago, where he was just winning.
Well, I would say winning, but 3 wins in 4 and only losing to Ricky Simone isn't bad.
That was pretty good, and it was like short. I feel like some of them were short notice fights, and he was doing some good stuff for a while.
It got him into the conversation, be able to attempt to call it Sean O'Malley. So that's fairly good.
Absolutely, that's huge. Get a lot of eyes on you then. Get 100,000 Instagram followers after you fight Sean.
So you're feeling Umar and Shavkat at this point? 2 Haas prospects? Because I guess we can't call Hamza a prospect anymore.
Yeah, like just off the top of my head, definitely.
Yeah. I think Shavkat's super easy one to talk about because he's probably 2 wins away from a title shot. Maybe 1 really impressive finish away from a title shot.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
And I mean, you obviously can't call Alex Pereira, even though it's only going to be his 3rd fight in the UFC, a prospect. He's already a contender. He's going to be a title challenger.
Exactly. So. He's got the next title shot.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still a prospect.
Yeah, I mean that's basically all I can think of right now. I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting someone awesome, but hopefully, our 6 viewers can fill us in on that.
And the 6 ones we love. Oh, so much. Shout out, a special shout out. I really want to feel like shout out to Chris with Unmatched MMA because he is just a freaking legend on Twitter with some of the best memes. Also, our resident Tony Ferguson supporter, and you and me both, man. Blake, you join us in here with support for Chris. We all hate tiramisu. It's a stupid dessert, and it's really the worst thing out there, right?
Have you had it before?
It kind of screwed us away from the Tony Ferguson fight. Also, I hate TV cables. TV cables are on the list of things I hate as well.
Now,
gotcha,
until you eat tiramisu, I don't think you should talk badly about it.
What, are you a fan of tiramisu?
It's some good stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
It's some good stuff, man.
Is it like Italian cake or something like that?
I don't even really know how to explain it. It's just got a lot of good shit in there, and I've not had bad tiramisu.
Is there sugar and carbs?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Sounds good to me.
That's what I'm saying. You can't go wrong. Why do you think Khabib couldn't make weight?
It's a little bit too much of that, huh?
And the cheeseburgers.
Jeez, dude. But let's get into the next thing here, because obviously the dilemma is ever expanding, ever growing, and it's Nate Diaz's dispute against the UFC. This is going to be a legendary one when it's all said and done. Probably similar to what we've seen between Mark Hunt in the UFC as well. That was a fun one, huh? But Nate Diaz joined Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, special edition of that, on Tuesday, and shared a lot of news and just shared more of his frustration that he's pitched like 5 different names and fights for the UFC to put him up against, and he wants to get a fight right after that Leon Edwards one, and we haven't seen anything close to a deal for him being made, and it really does seem like I don't think it's really hyperbole at this point with how long it's been, that the UFC is holding him hostage and really just is not letting him get that last fight of his contract in. I don't even know. Like, you and both, we've gone back and forth on this. There's a couple fights we would like to see. We're not even sure if he is going to ever fight again. But with that being said, statement number 2, Blake, blank is the Nate Diaz fight that we didn't get / haven't gotten that we needed the most.
I mean, does that even need to be asked? We all know what the answer is.
I think I know what
the trilogy with the
But apparently
Notorious.
we're not going to get the trilogy because that's not even close to Nate Diaz's radar, according to this interview.
Yeah, he said they're on different timelines or something weird like that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's fair. But
so
I mean,
what's going to happen is we're going to see them fight in a boxing ring for the trilogy, aren't we?
What fight would be bigger? What fight would be like bringing more views? I mean, that would just be huge. And I don't think it's that hard of a fight for him. I mean, he's already beat him basically twice. So
it's almost more winnable than the first fight they had.
I mean, I think he should just go for it. Guy's on one leg now. He's been knocked out a couple times.
Now they can actually fight at 170, like, legitimately.
But the only thing is like, how juiced up is Conor right now?
Dude's a middleweight.
I don't even know what's going on because I've been seeing a bunch of reports out there saying he hasn't been tested by USADA in like a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought they've been chasing him onto his yacht. No.
They haven't. They don't have a logged test of Conor McGregor's. I don't have the date, but it's been just about a year.
So Conor's on the Overeem diet. He's on that KSW diet, is what I'm hearing, Blake. That's not great. I don't even know if Conor McGregor is going to be fighting in the UFC again.
Let's see.
And now that I said that, that's going to be the Charles Oliveira news we're going to get here in a few days, is Conor versus Charles for the belt, of course. Gosh, dude.
Yeah, so back in May, I believe this was. Let me make sure that this is May.
Mm-hmm.
Go away. Yeah. So this was published on May 8th, 2022. And it said that USADA updated their testing pool database for 2022 yesterday. Henry Cejudo is officially back. Conor McGregor remains absent and hasn't tested in approximately 8 to 9 months. That was 2 months ago. So we're coming up on just about a year.
So what you're saying, Blake, is that the return for Triple C is going to come sooner than Conor McGregor. Fantastic.
We'll see. I hope it does. I mean, geez, the guy talks so much. I'd like to see him
Cejudo
fight.
versus Sean O'Malley. Let's do it.
It'd be a hell of a fight. It'd be a huge fight for both of them.
I think Cejudo takes that one too.
I'd like to see it. I mean, he should take it. He's triple champion. He's got the Olympic gold. He's got the bantamweight, and he's got the flyweight gold. So he should have all the tools to beat O'Malley. But O'Malley is, not a little boy.
Oh, yeah. I would, like, if they booked that fight, I would legitimately be super hyped for that one. Super interested in that fight. I would genuinely love if the UFC booked Triple C versus Sean O'Malley. But of course, I wouldn't be surprised if I would think that Triple C gets a title shot before he fights Sean O'Malley. If in my opinion, and I don't think that's a horrible choice as well. But in speaking about title shots, because we've kind of talked about Volk in 145, maybe taking on Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo going for quadruple C. Statement number 3, Blake, is blank would be the biggest challenge for Alexander Volkanovski at 145 pounds.
So far, it's been Ortega in actual fights. I'd like to see the Emmett fight.
I think that provides an interesting stylistic matchup. I'm not saying that Emmett would win. I do want to see that though.
And I wouldn't mind seeing a Cater fight too with Volkanovski.
Yeah.
I think that'd be another good one as well.
I don't know well, MMA math doesn't mean anything, but if it did, it wouldn't add up well for Cater. I think that'd be an interesting one though. Obviously, Yair Rodriguez has said, upcoming or with his upcoming fight against Brian Ortega this weekend, that if Rodriguez wins, then the UFC said he's going to get the next title shot.
Big if.
It's a huge if. We'll see when we get to our predictions here in just
all I gotta say
minutes.
about that dude is Frankie Edgar. Do you remember what he did to Yair Rodriguez?
He jacked him up, right?
He absolutely demolished that kid's face. Just wrestle-effed him and then just bashed his face in. And I just don't see Volkanovski having too much trouble doing that same exact game plan.
Yeah. I guess a rematch between him and Ortega is probably the toughest fight for Volk at this point. But it would take Ortega, unless he does something insane this weekend, I think it probably takes 2 wins for him. And honestly, dream situation here. I'll throw this one out to you. So Alexander Volkanovski's out for another 3 months with his broken thumb, recovering from surgery. So his timeline is probably going to be closer to the end of the year if he comes back, which he does want to. He wants like a November, December fight, which is fair. And I think that provides a pretty solid timeline. If Ortega wins this weekend, number 1 contender fight, Ortega versus Josh Emmett.
Yeah, that'd be a good fight. But I mean, just depending on how soon that would happen, that would possibly take them out of the running.
The timeline would be super close, but
yeah, that'd be a good one. Because I mean, you'd have to think they'd have rest after the Yair Rodriguez fight and Ortega fight, because unless there's no damage taken,
maybe we do Volk versus. Here we go. Brian Ortega, first minute of the first round, pulls guard, guillotine, or a triangle, and then submits Yair Rodriguez. No damage, and we could book that fight.
Yeah, that's the only way I could really see it happening, though.
You know what's funny? I joke about that, but that isn't like a total crazy prediction. You know what I mean?
No, I mean we've seen it happen with Ortega before. I don't know about in the first minute of the first round, but yeah, we've seen him pull guard on some dudes.
It's doable, bro.
Choke him out.
If we talk about guys that are like that, where pulling guard is a legitimate tactic in the UFC, Brian Ortega might be the best one at that. Obviously, it's not Glover.
Yeah, not 5th round Glover.
Oh, poor guy. Man, that was a tough one. But yeah, let's know your thoughts. What's going to happen in this featherweight division? Who is the toughest current opponent for Volkanovski at 145 pounds? Sound off, below, or like I said, hit us up over on socials. But we're going to close things out now with us taking a look at a loaded card that is UFC Long Island. There's some really fun fights on this one, and before we get to it, there's just a couple ones that I might want to key in as well, because what's cool is, Blake, we get back-to-back weeks of some loaded fight nights between, we're getting Long Island now, next week we're getting UFC London 2 for this year, and I'm super excited for this little stretch of fights we're getting. Then even after that, it's UFC 277, which honestly probably isn't as good. Probably isn't as good as UFC London card is, which is crazy to think about. But some fights that are going to be solid on this one. A guy in what we call the main event of the prelims, Punahele Soriano. He's always a fun fighter. Dustin Jacoby's on the prelims. Dwight Grant's on the prelims. And I think it's going to be fun. But even the Leech versus Muslim Salikov could be a really interesting fight as well. Misha Tate versus Lauren Murphy is on the card. That's really all I'll say for that fight. But Blake, let us know what fights we need to make sure our eyes are glued to our computer screens, to our TVs, to whatever device we are watching on when it comes to UFC Long Island. What are our bangers?
Okay, so first fight, we're going to go with Bill Algeo versus Herbert Burns. I'm very disappointed that we're not getting the Battle of the Bills with Bill Algeo and Billy Quarantillo.
Sucks he had to pull out.
Yeah. Can't relate. And then next we have Ricky Simone versus Jack Shore. That should be a very high-level bantamweight matchup. I believe Simone's like right there at like number 11 or 12, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure I'm not being stupid. Okay, he's at number 13, actually. He was at number 11, but UFC is doing weird shit. So that should be a really good one, a really good battle between some, hot prospects. And then, obviously, for the featured banger, we got to go with Charles Air Jourdain versus Shane Burgos. I mean, Burgos, I don't think I've ever seen him in a bad fight, like, ever in my life. And Jourdain is so entertaining. I mean, he Spartan kicks people in the octagon. So, just really looking forward to that one.
I'm really looking forward to seeing, because I think we might be able to get an improved Shane Burgos. One of the things that we saw recently is, especially leading up to Josh Emmett's fight against Calvin Kattar, is we all remember 2020, one of the best fights of the year was Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos. That fight was insane. And they become training partners. Burgos spending a little bit of time with Team Alpha Male, was spending some time with the most underrated boxing coach in MMA at this point. Shout out to Joey Rodriguez of Team Alpha Male. You are fantastic. And so I'm really curious to see what this new camp and environment is going to translate to for Shane Burgos when it comes to the octagon. I think this is just an insanely fun fight that we're going to be able to be gifted with this weekend as well.
Yep, can't wait.
Yes, sir. But excusing the awkward silence that we had there as my brain tried to wrap my head around what was going on, it is time for the predictions for UFC Long Island. Of course, this is a fairly highly anticipated main event, one with title implications on the line. Brian Ortega, if he does something crazy, we could definitely see that rematch be booked. Yair Rodriguez, apparently according to the UFC, if he wins this one, he is going to get the next title shot. So, what we're going to see here, Blake, Yair Rodriguez coming off of a obviously, recently he had that loss against Max Holloway late last year, but it was a very close fight, though. I would say it was a very close fight. And Brian Ortega, he is coming off of a couple obviously he had that big win over the Korean Zombie. Then he had that loss against Alexander Volkanovski in what was on the feet, not competitive. On the ground, he could very well submit Alexander Volkanovski twice and be the current champion. We all know the quote from Volkanovski saying that he thought he was about to lose the belt when he was in that guillotine. So, a couple of guys with some recent losses, but also some that have looked great as well. Kind of a big point in either career at this point. So, Blake, who do you think gets it done in the main event of UFC Long Island?
Gonna go with Ortega by decision. Unanimous.
We go in. You want to be super specific for no reason and give a score?
I think Yair will win at least one or two rounds. Mm-hmm. Maybe give it like a 48-46, 48-47 maybe.
Ooh, okay. And let me throw this one out there, kind of going to talk about with potential fight that they can do if they don't take any damage. I will go with Brian Ortega via submission against Yair Rodriguez. If I had to be super specific, third round submission for Brian Ortega.
Okay, you sound very confident.
I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there. I'll say Brian Ortega, third round submission by guillotine. So if that happens, it'll look like a freaking genius and being able to see into the future. If it doesn't, then that just means that it was a overly detailed prediction that I really shouldn't expect to get right anyway. So I'm playing both sides to come out on top as long as Brian Ortega wins. That's really the big one here. Both rolling with the same guy, but definitely don't want to make it sound like we're counting out Yair Rodriguez because we definitely are not. This is going to be a really good fight. I just think Brian Ortega is. I mean, his two losses was to Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski, two of the greatest fighters that this division's ever seen. Arguably, at least two of the top three, I would say, if not two of the top two. I think at this point, with that loss to Volkanovski, we're probably looking at top 3. I'm getting off topic here again, Blake, but greatest of all time featherweights: Volkanovski, Jose Aldo, Max Holloway. Is that a fair list?
Yeah.
Cool. There you guys go. Undisputed, best list ever. Don't even question. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to not UFC Vegas 58. I mean, you probably tuned into that one. But UFC Talk 93. It's been a couple weeks off, and so we're super glad to be able to come at you guys again. Life is crazy, and we don't make nearly enough money off of this show to make a priority in our lives, at least for Blake, because he has real stuff going. I have no life, so it really ultimately doesn't matter to me. So thank you so much for your patience. It was great to be back. But Blake, your thoughts in one word or phrase on Mexican food?
Me gusta.
Translate.
I like.
Me like. Me like. That's one. See, I know El Espanol. Believe it or not, I studied Japanese in high school. So I really don't speak a whole lot of Spanish besides the Spanish I learned by looking at the signs in Home Depot. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys have a fantastic time watching UFC Long Island. Go ahead. I think I'm doing Mexican food I think I'm cooking some little carne asada this week as well. So that's gonna be a good time. Go get some Mexican food if you can, because that stuff slaps. I hope you guys have a great week. Hope you guys have a great time on Fight Night. And we cannot wait to see you next week. See you guys later.